Hello, world. Welcome to episode 94 of the Jimmy Canz Show. It's a classic supercard retrospective. We are here. We are in the 90s. It is WrestleMania 6, the ultimate challenge. Let's talk about it. All right. This was a big one for old Vinnie Mac and company. It was a WWF event, obviously, held April 1st, 1990. From the Sky Dome in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. Attendance was 67,678, new Sky Dome attendance record, largest Mania attendance since Mania 3, also largest venue since Mania 3, but kind of stands to reason. This was the first Mania held outside the United States. Was broadcast live on pay-per-view, later released on home video, courtesy of Coliseum Video. The action was called by Gorilla Monsoon and Jesse the Body Ventura. And this would actually be the last WWF pay-per-view with Jesse on commentary. He will continue, to do commentary on TV. But by August of this year, the friction between Ventura and McMahon reached its peak, and Jesse decided to part ways with the company prior to SummerSlam that year. So the last time we hear the Body on a WWF pay-per-view. This is a Mania, obviously, so that means we've got some celebrity involvement. This year, we got to see Robert Goulet. He did the Canadian National Anthem. We got to see Rhoda Barrett with some backstage segments and interviews. Famous gossip columnists. I can't speak today. Also saw Mary Tyler Moore at ringside, who really probably didn't know why she was there. They gave her some comp ticket, and she shows up, and they start interviewing her, and she doesn't know really what's going on. You can kind of tell in terms of the story and the characters and everything. Obviously, was not, an actual fan. Kind of funny. And, we got to see some backstage stuff from Steve Allen, doing some stuff with the Bolsheviks, Rhythm and Blues, went into the commentary booth a little bit as well. No guest timekeeper this year or official or ring announcer or anything like that. So this is a 14-match card, really big card. Let's get into it and let's talk about it. All right. Opening contest, just a match with two solid workers in it. No bad blood, no story behind it. Just a contest to kind of get the crowd going. When the Birdman, Coco Beware, who had Frankie with him as always, takes on the model Rick Martel. Martel no longer being managed by Slick at this point. Pretty decent match all in all, considering only went, under 4 minutes. Both men, are good workers, and there's no real story or animosity here. They both get a little offense in this one, and then the end comes when Coco misses a cross-body attempt, and Martel locks in his patented Boston Crab for the submission victory. So Martel wins the opener. Next up, we get Axe and Smash Demolition, looking to become 3-time tag team champions when they challenge Bobby the Brain Heenan's Colossal Connection, comprised of the eighth wonder of the world, Andre the Giant, and Haku. The pop in Sky Dome when Demolition's music hits was deafening. They were so over at this point. It's also not a real big surprise that Haku carried the bulk of the load in this one. With Andre only getting involved minimally. He was just done at this point. It was sad. It really was sad to see, knowing what Andre once was and seeing what acromegaly had done to him. Yeah. But anyway, goes a decent amount of time, 9.5 minutes. Like I said, kudos to Haku for carrying the load there for 9.5 minutes. And the end comes in this one when Andre does get in the ring and Haku's crescent kick goes amiss, and he misses his planned target and ends up kicking Andre in the mush, sending the giant backwards into the ropes with the Andre's favorite tied up in the rope spot. He always loved that, get that in almost every match. So now this allows Demolition to go on a double team without having to worry about Andre, and they get Haku set up and hit him with the patented Demolition decapitation for the 1, 2, 3, and become tag team champions for a third time. However, this match was probably best remembered for the post-match angle that went on. After the match, an irate Heenan berates Andre in the corner, so incensed and angry that he actually slaps the 7'4" Andre. Andre does not tolerate that, proceeds to paintbrush Heenan, and then Haku tries to quote unquote Pearl Harbor Andre with a setting him up for a kick. Andre catches it, takes out Haku as well, sends both men down. Both men end up down on the floor and get up, stagger toward the ring cart to get out. Andre leaves the ring, decides, hey, I'm riding back solo, kicks both men out of the ring cart, and rides off into the sunset to the cheers of the crowd. So it was a great moment there. This would mark the last in-ring match for Andre in the WWF, and he got to leave to cheers and the adoration of the crowd. So, that was nice. That was nice. Next up, the Earthquake with the Mouth of the South, Jimmy Hart in his corner, took on the mighty Hercules. And this was just, a squash match really to help build Earthquake up as this new monster heel. It's pretty obvious Andre's in-ring days are over, so they need that new big monster heel, and this was a way to help solidify Quake as that next big monster heel. He gets the win in this one with his Earthquake Splash in under 5 minutes. So this is a pretty quick match. So like I said, we got the quick warm-up match, we got a decent tag title match, and then another quick match. Seems to kind of be our formula we're going to get tonight. You'll see what I'm going on here about. So there was that one. Next up, Brutus the Barber Beefcake looks to end the televised undefeated streak of Mr. Perfect, who is seconded by the Genius in this one. Perfect actually had lost his first match since, going with the Mr. Perfect character about a week or so earlier at MSG show to Warrior. So they did not play up his undefeated streak too much in this one because it wasn't there anymore. But, nobody really saw. I think maybe it might have aired on the MSG network, but that wasn't a broad network. Usually only those in the New York area got that at this point in history. But anyway, pretty solid match. Goes back and forth. I can't remember. I watched this back, but I can't remember off the top of my head now what caused Beefcake to end up being so groggy. But he catches Perfect in a slingshot and slingshots him up into the post. And, and Perfect does his wonderful perfect bumps, really launches himself up, bounces, so much so that he goes over the turnbuckle, looking like he cracks his head on the actual post, goes back down, Beefcake rolls over, covers him for the 1, 2, 3. So first pinfall victory seen by the masses against Perfect goes to Beefcake. Post-match, he's, looking for his scissors as he kind of comes around. He's going to cut Perfect's hair. Obviously, we know that's not going to happen. Genius steals the tools of the trade, starts to head out. Perfect rolls out of the ring. Beefcake goes, grabs Genius, gets his stuff back. Perfect gets out of dodge, leaving the Genius to the wolves there. And Beefcake proceeds to cut the Genius's hair yet again, just as he did at Rumble. And finishes the job that he started. So next up, a match that is lost to history. Won't go into too much detail on this one. It was a double countout, as both men refused to really do any business for the other. And, due to the controversial nature of Piper going half, I want to say half blackface, but it was half black everything. I mean, his entire half of his body was in black paint. And obviously, it's not very PC. So, when the network moved over to Peacock, this one was scrubbed. So the only way to really ever see this match again, at least here in the US, is if you have the old VHS or DVD. I honestly have no way of knowing if this match is still available outside the US. But anyway, there you have it. Double count out in this one. And this was a feud that they planned to carry out a long time, but they just ended up turning around and scrapping the whole thing because both men refused to do business for the other one. So, yeah, real professional guys. Anyway, moving on. We get a 19-second squash victory here for the Hart Foundation, who is back together and have, prior to Mania, challenged the winners of the Tag Team Championship match. And in this match, put the tag team division on notice again that the Foundation was back. Like I said, quick 19-second squash victory. They jump them and hit the heart attack at 1, 2, 3, and it is done. So yeah, quick one here. Like I said, there was no real story here other than just building the Hart Foundation back up. Next up, Tito Santana took on the Barbarian, who is now managed by Bobby the Brain Heenan. As several weeks earlier, Mr. Fuji, who is now managing the tag team of the Orient Express, split up the powers of pain, selling the Barbarian's contract to Heenan and the Warlord's contract to Slick, respectively. This is the third match of the night that has no story behind it. It's just a match on the card. And like those other ones that have no real story behind it, it's a quick match. It goes under 5 minutes. Barbarian getting the win about 4.5 minutes with his big flying clothesline off the top. Next up, the mixed tag with Sensational Queen Sherry and the Macho King Randy Savage taking on the American Dream Dusty Rhodes and Sapphire, who have the crown jewel in their corner in the form of the First Lady of Wrestling, Miss Elizabeth. This was not announced prior to Mania. It was announced at Mania. It was a surprise for the crowd. And, it got over. It was not surprising that the bulk of the work in this match was done by Dusty and Savage. As you know, Sapphire is not a trained in-ring competitor, But, I'll be honest with you. Um, she didn't do too bad for what she had to do. She didn't just, go in there and stink it up. She, with her limitations, they mapped out and booked the match well to kind of hide those things, and she looked pretty solid. This match goes under 8 minutes, and Dusty and Sapphire get the win when Liz pushes Sherry over Sapphire, who stacks her up for the 3 count. It's that old proverbial, hands and knees behind somebody, push them over someone spot. Like I said, it was nice to see Liz, take a little bit more assertive role, which we never really saw her do in all the years that she was with Savage. So, kind of neat to see. It was a little different. Next up, another tag team contest. Mr. Fuji's new duo, the Orient Express, Sato and Tanaka, take on Shawn Michaels, Marty Jannetty, the Rockers. While this wasn't a big thing going into this match, this actually kicked off a feud between these two teams that would, pretty much last an entire year. This was the first of it. And then, what really kind of catapulted in the feud in and of itself was Fuji being Fuji, the old salt in the eyes type thing. The Rockers did have some control. Fuji does the salt in the eyes onto Jannetty. Jannetty staggers around ringside blinded and takes, a tumble into the crowd and can't end up beating the count and is counted out. So the Orient Express wins via count out in this one. And like I said, just kind of continued on from here. This was the first chapter in a very long feud. Next up, Hacksaw Jim Duggan takes on the Canadian strongman Dino Bravo, who has the mouth of South Jimmy Hart in his corner, as well as Earthquake. Hacksaw does this hacksaw thing in here. USA chants in Canada against a Canadian. Which doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but the crowd still pops. As the crowd, still like Duggan. Duggan ends up getting the win, and then post-match uses his 2x4 on Bravo. Duggan doing his Duggan thing, but after he uses the 2x4, he is then, taken out by Earthquake and splashed by Earthquake, again, helping to build Earthquake up as that new monster heel. Next up, match for a non-sanctioned vanity title, but it was beyond awesome. DiBiase so over as a heel. Jake delivering, in my opinion, one of the greatest promos in wrestling history. This promo is so great. I have to quote it. I just have to quote it. For those of you that have never heard it before, look it up on YouTube. But I'll do my best here to quote it. Here we go. Well, the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase. Here we are at WrestleMania, and it's the biggest match of your career. Why? Because everything you stand for is on the line. Mainly the $1 Million Belt. Oh yeah, it can be yours once again. All you have to do is go through Damien and me. But you see, Damien and I, don't forget, we remember all the times you made people grovel for your money. These were people far less fortunate than you. People could use your money for essentials. What did you do? You made fun of them. You humbled them, and you humiliated them. Well, now it's my turn. I'm going to make you pay. You're going to get down on your hands and knees. This time, you'll be the one that's humbled. This time, you'll be the one that's humiliated. This time, You will be the one that grovels for the money. And how appropriate that the money you grovel for is your very own, a victim of your own greed, wallowing in the muck of avarice. Amazing. Oh, amazing. Gives me chills to this day. I love that promo. But as for the match, it, wasn't a sanctioned title. So therefore, not the same rules apply to most title matches. It can be won via DQ, via countout, et cetera, et cetera. And that's exactly what happens. Virgil intervenes, costing Jake the match and the title, as Jake ends up getting counted out. And DiBiase gets possession of his title once again. Now, next match is a babyface Big Boss Man clashing with his former Twin Towers partner, the African Dream Akeem, who has Slick. Boss Man proves that he was the one that carried that team, winning this one very convincingly in under 2 minutes. Like I said, very quick match. But, like I said, I think it was well done. Punctuated. I think watching these two guys go, for a slog would have not done well, especially considering the fact that, you just had a burner with Jake and DiBiase. This was just kind of a quick one for the crowd. And especially with the heel going over, the previous time, this was just a quick little shot of adrenaline to the crowd. Next up is our final match before the main event. The original Phenom of the Fed, Jimmy Superfly Snuka, taking on Ravishing Rick Rude with Bobby Heenan in his corner. Pretty quick match here. Rude gets the win in this one via a Rude Awakening in under 4 minutes. I will get into some rationalization in this one down the road, so I'm not going to dwell on it here. And now we are about to go to the main event, but I will say there was also a segment on this show. I don't want to spend too much time on it. Rhythm and Blues debuting their new song, getting jumped by the Bushwhackers who destroy their equipment to set up a Rhythm and Blues Bushwhacker feud, but they have that. So now is our main event. It's the Ultimate Challenge, champion versus champion, title for title, Intercontinental Champion, Ultimate Warrior, facing WWE Champion Hulk Hogan. Was the only match of the night where the participants didn't take the ring cart to the ring. Warrior doing his Warrior thing and sprinting the entire way out, blowing himself up before, the match even starts. Hogan comes out and does his thing, playing to the crowd the entire time, takes his time, hamming it up. The two men face off, at the bell. There's test of strengths, some old classic power stuff. Neither man really getting, the big advantage here. Goes on for a little while. They tumble to the outside. Hogan sells a knee injury. Back and forth. Over 20 minutes in this one. As they go back and forth for a while. Warrior finally kind of getting control. He hits the splash on Hogan. Hogan kicks out. Hulk's up. Looks like it's going to be the same old story. Same WrestleMania type endings that we're used to seeing during the Hogan era. But when Hogan goes up for the leg drop, Warrior rolls out of the way and avoids it, gets to his feet, hits a big splash on Hogan for a second time, and gets the 1, 2, 3 with Hogan kicking out just a nanosecond after the. So now your winner, dual champion, the Ultimate Warrior. The Warrior era is now taking off. Hogan, tears in his eyes, gets out of the ring, grabs the title, comes back in, hands Warrior the belt, raises his hand. Both men hug. Hogan departs, tears in his eyes, leaving Warrior to celebrate his victory. Good story. So, the torch is now passed. We move into the 90s. It's going to be the Warrior era. How long will it last? Well, honestly, we know, but it's something new at the time. Before I get into an overall review and rating on this show, I'll go over some post-Mania info, kind of house cleaning, so to speak, from fallout from this Mania. Obviously, Warrior winning champion versus champion, title for title wasn't a unification thing. You need to figure out something with the IC title. So, due to his victory, the IC title is relinquished by Warrior. An 8-man tournament is conducted over several weeks on episodes of Superstars and Wrestling Challenge. The 8 men in the opening round matches are former 2-time IC champion in his own right, Tito Santana, taking on Akeem. Brutus the Barber Beefcake versus Dino Bravo, Mr. Perfect against Jimmy Superfly Snuka, and Roddy Piper taking on Rick the Model Martel. So, how the tournament played out, Tito and Perfect both advance with victories, but Beefcake and Bravo ended in double countout, eliminating both men, and Piper and Martel ended up in a double DQ, eliminating both men. So Santana and Perfect advanced all the way to the finals. There's no semifinals as a result of that. And Perfect would go on to pin Santana with a Perfect Plex to capture the Intercontinental title in the finals. So, as a result of Mania, we now have a new tag champs, new WWE champ, and new Intercontinental champion. So, I think this is the first that everything changed hands. But anyway, as a result of Mania. I mean, one thing didn't change hands at Mania. It was a result of Mania. But anyway, rating time. All the matches with an actual story or substance behind them, I thought were done really well, with the exception of one, to be honest, and that would be the Piper Bad News match being the only stinker. As like I said, both men refusing to be professional and work with each other. That feud was scrapped and ended before it ever got going. But let's be honest, tag title match had a story. It was solid, especially the post match. To send Andre off as a fan favorite. Beefcake and Perfect had a story to it, and the match was executed well. Jake and DiBiase was solid. The mixed tag between Dusty and Savage, which had a story, was a solid, contest. The grudge between Boss Man and Akeem, like I said, it was quick, but done solidly and then done the right way, in my opinion. Like I said, I think the crowd at that point in time needed something quick, that kind of adrenaline pop. It was done well. And then, the main event in and of itself, due to the technical limitations that both men in that match kind of had with each other, it was booked well. And like I said, the rest of the card, it was a pull names out of the hat, get guys on the card type situation. But none of the matches were awful. And on that, let me, call out 3 of those kind of quote unquote name out of the hat matches, and talk about what they did from a long-term story standpoint going forward. I already mentioned Earthquake. All right. They've now built him up as the new monster heel to replace Andre. So that was done correctly and well. The Hart Foundation Bolsheviks match, except total squash and everything like that. But again, this helped build back up and really leapfrog and spring the Hart Foundation, into the top contendership in the tag team division to help set them up for a feud with Demolition over the titles. So well done there. And then, the Rick Rude, pretty much dominance and squash of Snuka helped build Rude up for, his future program, that summer against Warrior. Like I said, we didn't know it at the time, but, it was a solid way to do it. It's like, this guy's going to be the next contender against Warrior. We need to get him, get him some credibility. And that was done really well. So, like I said, I think this one, a lot of people kind of poo on this Mania. It was a better Mania, I think, than a lot of people remember if we really look at it and everything that it did. So, for me, on my 10 belt scale, I'm going to give WrestleMania 6. I'm going to give WrestleMania 6 8 out of 10. Like I said, all matches with the story delivered except for one. And those didn't have a story were done really, really well. Like I said, the one match in particular, the Orient Express rocker thing helped set up a feud. I forgot to mention that before, but there's another case in point that it was all kind of done well. Even the ones that just were kind of random at the time, they found ways to all get the gears lined up and make it all work. It set up the Warrior era. We'll get into that later. It set up Mr. Perfect to become the workhorse champion with the IC strap. In the post-Mania situation there. So, I have no real major issues with this Mania compared to what other people do. But anyway, next up in the classic retrospectives, I'm going to discuss one that left us all scratching our heads, and that is World Championship Wrestling presents Capital Combat 90 Return of Robocop. Woo, Nelly. Yeah, that's right. WCW wanted the world to think Robocop was real. Hey, I get cross promotion and all, but please, let's not insult people's intelligence. History did repeat itself last year. I'm not going to blame WCW as being the only ones to ever do this. WWE did the same thing with, the zombie nonsense at WrestleMania Backlash just this past year. It's not like WCW was the only one to do this, but hey, they did it first. Anyway, there you have it. That's my retro. Come back and listen to my take on Capital Combat in a while. Well, give the channel a like, a share, subscribe. Wherever you guys are, I hope you are all doing well. Take care of one another, and I will see you all when I see you.